Hi, I'm Shauna. I'm an alcoholic. I'm so grateful to be here. Very nervous. I recently had a health scare, and so it's just making me more nervous to speak. But whatever, so bear with me. I have, oh gosh, what is it? I've done these steps through the Big Book with this Big Book Step Study sponsor, Loving Higher Power, coming to meetings like this, listening to all of you. I've made a bunch of amends. I'm sure I have more to make. And I try to practice 10, 11, and 12 to the best of my ability on a daily basis. So I love the second half of chapter 2 because the first thing it says is there is a solution. Like, there is a solution. Great. Right? Like, is someone going to lay out a plan for me and walk me through it? And, you know, I can really relate to the part that says that, you know, I was reasonable and very, let's see, he seemed quite rational and well-balanced with respect to other problems, yet he had no control over alcohol. Why was this? So on the surface, you know, no one would know there was an issue, right? I had a good job, friends, I was a good faker, really. And so, you know, all my decisions that I ever made were pretty thought out and smart, right? Except for when it came to alcohol. So I'm like, where's the disconnect? And I just thought that I was like, oh, I have no willpower, right? And so it says in here that it's not about willpower. And that was like a real relief to me. The fact is that most alcoholics, for reasons yet obscure, have lost the power of choice in drink. Our so-called willpower becomes practically non-existent, right? So it's not about willpower. It's not at all. It's not a weakness. It's not, I'm not trying hard enough. It's not, I'm screwing up. You know, this is a disease. And this is why I can make good decisions in all areas of my life unless I put alcohol in my system. And continue to put alcohol in my system because that is another bad decision. So this was like almost spiritual in itself because it took reading this chapter and doing the work through the steps, it took the heaviness off me. Like, it was sort of like, oh, so it's not my fault. This is not my fault, but it is my responsibility to treat it, right? So, for many years, I knew I had an alcohol problem, but I would not admit to being insane, right? I'm like, what? No, I'm not insane. I just have an alcohol problem, right? But then, because the word insane, it brings you lots of different thoughts that are not always, what you want to describe yourself as. But then when I think about the choices that I made with alcohol, it was insane. Those were insane. Or the non-choices I made, right? Because once it's in my system, the alcohol is making the decisions. It's now, it's running the show. Now I don't have free will. I don't have free will at all. I don't have the ability to make good choices. So, okay, I guess I am insane. But, it says here, chapter 2, there is a solution. It was like this aha moment, right? And I was like, there's a solution? Can you list everything I need to do? It wasn't quite that straightforward, but I did, especially when it comes to Big Book Step Study, the way it's laid out is structured, right? And that spoke to me. Because I needed specifics. I needed to felt like I was doing something and figuring things out. It wasn't just go to meetings and speak, right? It was, this is your assignment, right? And I actually was always a good student, so that spoke to me. I was like, okay, this is one of my strengths. I can do this. I can say, oh, I have to read this week. I have to write about this week, right? So for me, it was really, really, it was a really good way to get me involved, right? Because I felt comfortable reading things, writing things, So I got sober. I didn't go to Big Book Step Study from the very beginning, right? So I didn't start here. But I think God gives you what you need, and so I think Big Book Step Study, for me, it might have been a little too much, first out of the gate, right? Because as it was, just even walking into a meeting and accepting this was enough for me. But I ended up getting into Big Book Step Study because I had a good friend in recovery who eventually became my sponsor, and I knew she did Big Book Step Study, but she was good. She didn't say, okay, now we're going to start to do it the Big Book way, right? She didn't she didn't start that right away. She was just like, well, if you want to do it, I can take you through. She kind of knew that it was maybe a little scary, and then at some point it was like, no, I want more, because I need understanding in order to get better. And I knew that, right? Because they make a distinction here between, I wrote, sobriety versus recovery, right? So I had sobriety, But I probably didn't have a ton of recovery, or I didn't know how to live a life of recovery. So I needed to do these steps this way. How long do I talk? I don't remember.
Much as you need.
Okay, that's not. So, and it says here, further on, clear-cut directions are given showing how we recovered, right? So this is how you do it. And I needed that. Again, so let me just see one thing. Right, okay, so, and the solution, right? So I didn't like the word insanity. The solution could restore us to sanity. I didn't really know what that meant because I didn't think I was insane, even though I was making insane choices. But what I came to find out was that this solution brought me peace, right? Stopping drinking was the first part of it. But this solution, going through the big book, brought me a peace that I guess had been searching for and I had never found, and I didn't even know it, right? So I've been able to move forward, and I often say, like, if it doesn't bring me peace, then it's not for me, right? If something is disturbing my peace, it's not for me. Because that's ultimately why I wanted to get sober. And, life is hard. And finding peace when there's a whole lot of insanity going on around you, is not always that easy. But this has helped me, at least try to regain that peace, right? So my sponsor is always like, have you done a 10th step? I'm like, no. Like, I'll mention something to her. Have you done a 10th? I'm like, oh, she's so right. Or, she'll say, where's God in all this? And I was like, where is he? Like, right? She only has to say like 3 words, and then I'm like, shit, excuse me. Like, I totally, but it's just like a good reminder, and I have that in my head, like when I'm trying to, find peace in like a not great situation, I have those like lessons that I've learned from her, who she learned from someone else and someone else and someone else. Now it's in my head, right? So now I'm saying it. I'm saying it to myself, right? Because that's what I've learned, and I'm saying it to other people, which is crazy. So I don't even know how long I've been talking.
You're doing a good job.
What?
I see you're doing a good job.
Oh, thanks. But I believe that you're where you need to be. I didn't know there was ice. I did make sure I was going to leave early to get here early, and then I saw the ice on my car, and I was like, okay, peace, peace, peace. Peace. Like, I didn't want to be late. I didn't want them to be like, is she coming? Like, I just can't see out my window, But I stayed calm because I have tools now, And I'm really just grateful for this process, because it really is, in general, just a much better way to live. I sometimes think that even people without alcohol problems should go through Big Book Step Study, because I think they would find a peace in general that I think in general we all need in this world. Like I said, how do you find peace in kind of an insane world, right? And so we're taught that in order to stay sober, you know? And I know that I have tools to fall back on, people to talk to, and it's okay that I was insane. Maybe I still am, but in a good way and not with the alcohol way. So thank you for asking me to speak. I hope I did the step justice. So thanks.